Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of Gold is a Better Way Gold Investment Summit. We are so excited to go over some of the most important financial information that you can't find anywhere else. And today is going to be a very, very special day because in addition to everybody here attending, we have an audience online that is watching this as well. Let's give them a round of applause. For everybody who's watching online, this is going to be something that will change your life. In order for you to get the maximum amount of value on what you're about to see, I urge all of you to take a minute and close out all of your browsers, turn off your cell phones, grab a pen and paper, and focus in on what Adam is going to be covering. Because I guarantee you it's something that you cannot find anywhere else online. It's not something that you're going to read in the Wall Street Journal. This is information that is going to be extremely impactful and important to your financial future. And it's been an honor to witness what I witnessed last night. It's some of the, right? Can I get a round of applause for how yesterday went? Adam, I've never heard anything like that. But before we get into what we covered, today we have your business partner, Kirill Zagowski, on stage with us as well. And I mentioned that this is going to be a very special day, and today is very special for the both of you. Kirill, do you want to tell us why?
It is. It's a very special day. First of all, Adam, just want to say I'm completely blown away by yesterday and last night and the content that you put out there.
Thank you.
It's something that I'm very proud of, what we've been able to accomplish together, and I believe it's just the beginning. Today, as Jeremy mentioned, is a very special day for us. We, 5 years ago today, started what is now the #1 precious metals company in the United States, Advantage Gold. So,
thank you for putting on this fabulous event, by the way. We all appreciate it.
So to help celebrate, I have something very, very special for everybody in the audience and those folks watching online. So make sure you stick around till the very end. You're not going to want to miss this offer. One other cause for celebration today is that Advantage Gold has made the Inc. 5000 list for one of the fastest growing privately held companies in the United States.
Amazing.
So it's something that we're collectively very proud of, and we want to share in some of the glory with everybody that's here. So I'll be providing something very special for you guys at the very end of the session.
This comes to no surprise to me. You guys are the #1 rated gold company in America. Year over year, you guys continue to be #1. So the fact that you guys have won this award tonight and that it falls just on your 5-year anniversary is, I think, par for the course for the amazing success that you guys have derived. And it's because you do take such a different approach than what everybody else takes that's out there. From different investment companies, from Goldman Sachs to the Wall Street Journal, people are producing information that I think really just glosses over the public. And Adam, you have this unbelievable ability to tell stories in such a way that it is not only educational, informational, but it's completely sound in its entirety. It really does showcase exactly why we need to be paying attention to what's happening all around us. There's some major things. And so because the people who are online watching this didn't get a chance to see what you covered last night, we have to go and show them something that you discussed, because it's absolutely amazing. Can we play that right now? Let's get ready to do it.
Can we do it?
Great.
Yeah? All right, cool.
Let's go.
Do it. When I was a kid, my favorite movie was Back to the Future. I just love the idea of knowing what is going to happen in advance and how exciting and fun and easy life would be if only you knew the future before it happened. When I was a younger man, I used to like to gamble on sports, mostly. Football. It was exciting for me. I liked the action. I used to think if I could just know the final score before the game, I could make a fortune. Now imagine you could go back 10 years in time and sit down with Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke. Let me remind you of what was happening at that time. The stock market has just collapsed 50%. The Dow Jones is at 6,700 points. You've lost half of your 401k. Your house is underwater and you are scared. You're scared for your future. You're scared you're never going to be able to retire. You're scared you're going to outlive your money. And you have no idea what you're going to do. And had you sat down with Ben Bernanke, he could have told you not to worry. That you should put every penny you have into the stock market. That the Federal Reserve and other central banks around the globe would expand their balance sheets 4 times in this revolutionary new idea, quantitative easing. For those of us that speak plain English, basically we're going to print trillions of dollars of money. And that as a result of all of that money printing, your portfolio would go up 4 times over the next decade because all of that money printing would go one place, the stock market. That would have been pretty good information to have. The information I'm going to share with you this evening, I believe, is better than that information you could have gotten 10 years ago. I believe it's information the entire world needs to hear, and I'm on a mission to make sure that they do. So tonight, we will go back to the future. My name's Adam Baratta. I'm here to talk to you tonight about the most misunderstood asset in the world, gold. By the way, now that I'm older, I don't like to gamble anymore. Now I just want to win. It's why I've put every penny I have into physical gold and why I'm so excited to talk to you tonight. I dedicate tonight's presentation to my friend Billy the Lion. His roar will reverberate forever. One of the nice things about talking about gold is that everyone knows what gold is. But few people really understand how gold works. Most people believe that gold is a bearish asset, something you want when the world falls apart or the stock market collapses, or everything comes to an end. These are the words that people think about when they think of gold. Doomsday, insurance, doesn't pay a dividend, financial collapse. It's for crazy people who think the world's going to end. It is very important to understand that while these beliefs may be widely held, they are not universal truths. In fact, they are a universal lie. But for those of you who think and feel this way, I ask a simple question. Has the world come to an end in the last 20 years? The stock market was here 20 years ago, right? Still here today? Yeah? It is. Highest it's ever been. Doing pretty good. This is the Dow Jones in 1999. It was at 11,000 points. Today, the Dow Jones is at 27,000 points. In the last 20 years, the Dow Jones has gone up 2.5 times. In 1999, the price of gold was $250 an ounce. Today, it's over $1,400. In the last 20 years, gold is up more than 5.5 times. This bearish asset that you're told you only want in a financial collapse is outperforming the highest flying stock market in history by by more than double. This is why I wrote the book. I created a multi-million-dollar platform called Gold is a Better Way, and other secrets Wall Street doesn't want you to know, because I was shocked and stunned that more people didn't have this information. I became impassioned to tell the world. It's now become my life's mission. This outperformance is going to continue. The US dollar will devalue faster than financial assets can inflate from this point. This is why I called the book Gold is a Better Way. I wanted to put the conclusion right there on the title so there would be no misunderstandings. This, in my hands, is 1 ounce of gold. This 1 ounce gold American Eagle was cut, stamped, and minted by the United States Mint. The gold that it's made from comes from the ground. It is an extremely finite resource. All of the gold ever minted or mined would fit in less than 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools. This gold is made by God. Today, gold is harder to find than at any time in human history. 20 years ago, we moved 1 ton of rock to get an ounce of gold. Today, we have to move 7 tons of rock to get the same ounce of gold. We will continue to find less and less of this in the coming years. This is a $20 bill. This paper currency is made by the Federal Reserve. These are being printed and produced at the greatest rate in human history. This $20 bill is man-made. And we will have no choice but to make trillions more of these in the coming years. But what most people don't realize is that 90 years ago, this $20 bill and this gold coin were interchangeable. They were worth exactly the same. Gold was money. We were on a gold standard. We couldn't print any of these without reserves of gold backing it. Just like 4 quarters and $1 are the same, 90 years ago, this $20 bill and this gold coin were exactly the same. Back then, you could walk into a tailor shop with your $20 bill or your 1 ounce gold coin and buy a top-of-the-line man's suit. Today, I can still walk into a tailor shop with my $1,500 coin and get a top-of-the-line man's suit. This $20 bill won't even buy your pocket square, sir. So the simplest explanation for gold is this. Gold is simply a referendum or vote on the future value of the dollar. If you believe that the dollar is going to get stronger over time, don't buy this. If, however, you believe the dollar will continue to devalue, this may be the best investment you could make, because it'll take more dollars to buy the same amount of gold. There is another way to look at it. 90 years ago, this 1 gold coin bought me 1 $20 bill. Today, this 1 gold coin buys me 71 $20 bills. And if things keep going at this rate, in 90 years, this 1 gold coin will buy me 5,000 $20 bills, which means that in 90 years, this 1 ounce gold coin will be worth $100,000. Gold is a beautiful gift from God. The US dollar says, "In God we trust." Well, that made sense when we were on a gold standard. Gold is from God. The dollar was backed by gold. But today, the US dollar is backed by nothing. The US dollar should read, "In the Fed we hope." Hope is not a strategy. A better one for the coming years was that instead of holding these, you start holding these. Gold is the best one-way bet in history, and tonight I intend to prove just that. Thank you for coming. Tonight's presentation is called The Great Devaluation. I hope you enjoy it. In part one, we learned that we are at the end of a business cycle, that asset values at these levels are significantly overpriced, due for a big pullback. It's debt, not growth, that has gotten us here. Low rates have lifted all boats. Assets are higher because of Tina. We all know who Tina is, right? There is no alternative. Lower rates have created the everything bubble. Lower rates have made bond values go higher. Lower rates have made stock values go higher. Lower rates have made real estate go higher. Everything is expensive, and now everything is correlated, which means everything is risky. Most people hold stocks and bonds in their portfolio for diversification. You have to ask yourself a question. If both stocks and bonds are at all-time highs, both the most expensive they've ever been, how can holding both be considered diversified? And now we are at the zero lower bound. We cannot raise rates without causing a financial collapse, which is why the Federal Reserve won't raise rates again. When the Federal Reserve pivoted in December from tightening to remaining patient, it's when I began putting every penny I have into physical gold. Normalization is a dream. You'll be seeing low rates, zero rates for a very, very long time. It's also why we are at incredible risk at this very moment. What's the risk? Recession. Buying gold is like playing chess. You want to be thinking several moves down the board. From the day that Jerome Powell pivoted from tightening to remaining patient, I have purchased 500 ounces of physical gold. Why? Why was that one move so important? See, I think that move was like playing chess against Kasparov and making a mistake. It's only a matter of moves to checkmate. I'm going to lay out those moves in this presentation. But let's take a look at why that statement was so important.
In a typical downturn, to address it, the Fed cuts interest rates 5 percentage points, 500 basis points. So now, if the short rate got back to 3% to a normal nominal level and a serious downturn hit, the scope to cut short rates to address it before hitting the so-called zero lower bound is only 300 basis points. And that just isn't what we have had or used historically to address downturns. So that's the fundamental problem.
The zero lower bound and 5%. It's the whole ball game. We know recessions come and go. They're cyclical. We've been trying to fight them and avoid them for thousands of years. Here, is the last 40 years summarized. In 1981, we had a recession. We lowered interest rates from 18% to 13%. We got out of the recession. In 1991, we had a recession. We lowered interest rates from 9% to 4%. We got out of the recession. In 2001, we had a recession. We lowered interest rates from 6.25% to 1.25%. It created the housing boom. In 2008, we had a recession. We lowered interest rates from 5.14% to the floor. It's created the everything bubble. Notice that every time we have a recession and we need to cut rates, we're forced to do it from a lower number. So a shock to the system poses the greatest risk due to ultra-low interest rates and how offsides investment is. And it's the one thing that everyone is hoping to avoid. The Federal Reserve is trying to keep this expansion going. The problem is, mankind can't avoid recessions. We can't control them. They come and go historically every 7 years. The current expansion is the longest in history without a recession, but maybe this time is different. Not according to the central banks. The Federal Reserve is saying that growth is slowing. Rate cuts may be necessary. The ECB is saying outlook worse and worse. More monetary stimulus necessary. The IMF is downgrading growth, warns of a precarious 2020. So what happens when we get a recession? Because it sure looks like the smart people think it's coming. Let's remember the rules. We need to lower rates 5%. It raises a very important question. How do you take 5% from 2%? Negative 3%, yes? Okay. Let's take a look at what that would look like. You have $100,000 in the bank. They pay you a negative 3% rate. 1 year later, they give you back $97,000. How many people are going to keep their money in the bank? That's what I thought. So, negative rates are something that cannot happen. They've happened around the globe. They can't happen to the US dollar. If they do, the monetary system will be over as we know it. 25% of the world's debt, sovereign debt, now pays a negative interest rate. So we won't go negative. We will do more quantitative easing, more money printing. And that's why in the next recession we will see a massive dollar devaluation. Because negative rates mean people will hoard their money. It'll be just like the 1930s. The lower interest rates go, the worse the slowdown will become. And there is an estimate at the Federal Reserve that for every 1% below that 5% number, they have to print $5 trillion. So using that math, if interest rates are at 2%, they'll lower to 0, and they have to print somewhere around $15 trillion. Remember, in 2008, interest rates were at 5%, and we lowered them to the floor and then had to print $4 trillion. So, the question you have to ask yourself is, if we add trillions of dollars to the monetary system, to the money supply, what will happen to the value of that money? We all know that when you add to the supply of something, you diminish its value. So, as we print more money in the future, the dollar will devalue, which is exactly why gold is what you want to own. This devaluation is inevitable. It's simply a matter of how fast and exactly when. The CBO says that we will be $30 trillion in debt by the year 2025, but they don't factor in recessions. We could be 35, 40, or 50 trillion in debt. Now just think about what happens to interest rates when that occurs. All of this money has to be borrowed from somebody. Anyone here lining up to give the government money for 10 years to get a 1% return or a negative percent return? No, right. So what will happen down the road is you will see the long end of rates surge higher as investors demand more and more return for the risk they're taking lending to governments. By the way, we're seeing this around the globe. Venezuela, Turkey, Iran. Interest rates have been soaring in order for them to borrow money. Investors demand a higher rate. So we're going to print more money. It's coming. Now, the question is, and I think the most important thing to understand is, it's not what you don't know that winds up hurting you. It's what you're certain of that turns out not to be true. Everyone is certain that government debt and U.S. treasuries are the safest investment. Money is plowed into this debt for 40 years. And for 40 years, as interest rates have come down, bond values have gotten higher and higher and higher. But this will change in the coming years. In the next recession, when it hits in earnest and growth is nowhere in sight, this debt and interest rate manipulation will come back to haunt us. And it will be checkmate for the US dollar. So if you're playing this like you're playing chess, a couple things to think about. In fact, a chessboard is a great way to think about gold because gold is the anti-dollar. Gold is the Federal Reserve's kryptonite. For the longest time, they've been telling us, you don't need gold, you need dollars. In 1980, 8% of all investable assets were held in gold or gold-backed securities. Today, less than 1/4% is held in gold. Those numbers match exactly the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve. This is the balance sheet in 1980. Notice that 8% of the balance sheet was held in gold. Pretty interesting, huh? Notice as well that interest rates were 19%. And the Federal Reserve has won the game over the last 40 years. They've convinced the world that gold is pointless. What you really want are dollars. And interest rates have come down for 40 years. That's why 99% of all investments are in paper. This is the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve today. 1/4% of all of their assets are held in gold. So dollars and gold are on completely different sides of the board. Now, imagine during the next couple years as investors start to realize that the central banks are stuck and more money flows into gold. Imagine if the demand for gold just went up to 1%. That would be 4 times the demand and a $5,000 gold price, which is precisely what I expect to happen in the next 3 to 4 years. And then over the next decade, as investors realize central banks have no way of paying all of this back, as central banks are forced to print more and more money, as people revolt against the institutions that caused this pain, we will see gold over $10,000 an ounce as all currencies devalue simultaneously. More people will be moving into gold and away from the US dollar, and I believe the next recession will become known as the Great Devaluation. But there's an interesting thing to think about with all of this. What happens if the Federal Reserve lost reserve currency status? What if we no longer were the world's trading currency? In that scenario, we'd probably see gold skyrocket to unthinkable highs. This here is a chart of the central bank's foreign reserves. 50 years ago, 80% of the reserves held in central banks were in dollars. 20 years ago, it was closer to 65%. Today, it's about 55%. It doesn't help that the dollar is also being used as a weapon to punish countries like Russia and Venezuela and Iran. And as we've used the dollar as a weapon, other central banks are buying what? Gold. That's right. They're buying gold. They know that the only way to avoid the massive dollar devaluation that's coming is to increase their gold reserves. In the end, it would appear that the US dollar and its disappearance is imminent. And yet, investors keep plowing into government debt around the globe. This is Larry Fink. He's the head of BlackRock, the largest fund manager in the world, with nearly $7 trillion under management. He has been talking about his experiences with world leaders from other countries and CEOs from around the globe. And what Larry says is there's more desire for more companies and countries to find a longer-term solution to the US dollar. And this is the bubble that nobody is prepared for. Treasuries are seen as the safest investments. That mindset will change. The idea that the Federal Reserve is all-knowing and that they are responsible to run the world's monetary system is already under attack. And as that attack continues, you will see the price of gold continue to surge higher. But the Federal Reserve seems oblivious to this. Here's a clip of Ben Bernanke in 2011 in testimony before Congress.
Do you think gold is money?
No.
It's not money.
It's
Even
a
if it had
precious
been money
metal.
for 6,000 years, somebody reversed that and eliminated that economic law. Why do
Asset.
central banks hold it?
Well,
If
it's a
not
form of
money?
reserves. It's a
Why
form
don't
of-
they hold diamonds?
Well, it's tradition.
Now, what's interesting is that most gold bugs look at that statement and hear gold's not money. But see, I'm noticing a different thing, which is gold is a form of reserves. Treasuries and mortgage-backed securities are a form of reserves. In 2008, to offset the recession, the Federal Reserve bought treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. So if the Fed can buy treasuries and mortgage-backed securities, why couldn't they buy gold? It's already sitting on their balance sheets. And there's really only one reason, because gold is the Achilles heel of central banks. But what if there was a president who challenged that system? What if someone was willing to call out and challenge the institution of the Federal Reserve? Someone who every day for the last 6 months has tweeted about their incompetence, who in the 2016 election said the following about the Federal Reserve.
We have the worst revival of an economy since the Great Depression. And believe me, we're in a bubble right now. And the only thing that looks good is the stock market. But if you raise interest rates even a little bit, that's going to come crashing down. We are in a big, fat, ugly bubble. And we better be awfully careful.
Big, fat, ugly bubble. Donald Trump is calling for a 100 basis point cut from the Federal Reserve. I think it's pretty clear he understands that the stock market is key to getting reelected. He also understands that the Federal Reserve doesn't lower rates, stocks probably aren't going higher. It's why in the last few months, when it looked like Jerome Powell went from we're going to tighten to then we're going to remain patient to now, well, maybe we need to cut rates, you can see what's happening. We can't handle higher rates. Clearly, this is a president who is unafraid. He's been calling them out for years. He knows the Federal Reserve is the key to keeping this bubble afloat. But think about it a different way. When Donald Trump attacks Jerome Powell, he's actually attacking the US dollar. Jerome Powell's golf shirt says Federal Reserve. He's the Federal Reserve chairman. So it would be kind of like attacking Elon Musk, you're attacking Tesla. Or attacking Tim Cook, you're attacking Apple. And Trump is right. The Federal Reserve is completely at fault for the wealth gap, for the anger, and for the populism that is happening around the globe. In fact, I believe Donald Trump understands better than most the great risks we all face. I also think Donald Trump can trump the Fed with one swipe of the pen. See, there's a little known fact. We all know the United States is the largest holder of gold with over 8,000 tons. However, very few people know that the gold on the Fed's balance sheet is actually priced at $42 an ounce, not the current market value of over $1,400. Donald Trump, with one swipe of a pen, could change all of that. He could order Steve Mnuchin, his Treasury Secretary, to mark gold to the market price. That's simple. Nothing would change. Price of gold is the price of gold. Who would argue it? And with that one move, he would add $350 billion to the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve. I think you'd see gold double overnight, because now gold would be relevant again, and it would weaken the Fed dramatically, which is exactly what Donald Trump is trying to do. It leads me to the one scenario that could actually save all central banks, and how Donald Trump could go down as one of the most important presidents in the world. The one asset that all central banks hold is gold. This is a summary of the gold reserves of the major central banks. The European Union combined holds more than the United States, about 9,000 tons. Russia owns 2,000 tons and buying aggressively. China owns 1,900 tons officially. Those unofficial estimates don't include all of the gold mines they own. When you include that, it's probably over 5,000 tons. Every major central bank also has the exact same problem. They've all taken on massive debts, interest rates are on the floor, and they have no more room. Which is why I believe there will be an accord, an agreement between all of the central banks. They'll all get together, and by that agreement, we'll simply move the price of gold to $10,000 an ounce. What would this look like? A new gold standard? No, it's pretty easy. Central banks could become net buyers of gold at $99.50 and net sellers at $10,050, effectively setting the price at $10,000. They could then change the price of gold as they need to expand their balance sheets. And we could continue this debt bubble for the next 50 years. But wait a second, wouldn't that be manipulation? Wouldn't that be something that would be illegal? We couldn't do that, could we? Yeah, we could. In fact, it's exactly what the Federal Reserve has done since they were created. Every 15 years or so, the Federal Reserve changes the rules. In 1933, FDR recalls the gold. 1944 was Bretton Woods. 1951, Treasury cedes control to the Fed in control of monetary policy. 1971, Nixon closes the gold window. 1985, the Plaza Accord. 1998, the bailout of long-term capital management. 2008, quantitative easing. Every 15 years or so, the Fed is forced to change the rules. Quantitative easing was just a new trick, a new rule change. We just all went along with it, yeah? So, I think you're going to see Donald Trump in the coming years seek an accord. He's going to force the hands of the other central banks who all have the same problem, who all own the same asset. But here's the beautiful thing for the United States. A $10,000 gold price increases the balance sheet of every central bank by 8x. It increases the balance sheet of the United States by 240x. Now that would truly make America great again. And it would keep the monetary system going. The US dollar could continue being the world's trading currency probably the next 40 or 50 years. It would allow interest rates to return to a normalized level. At that time, the United States would have $3 trillion of actual, tangible, physical assets in gold against a net debt of $25 trillion. That's about 8 times leverage. That's pretty good, especially when you consider we're about 1,000 times leverage right now. We could continue to borrow and borrow and borrow for another 50 years and just keep resetting the price of gold higher as we need to borrow more money. So I believe this rule change is inevitable, that monetary policy is coming to an end, and that interest rates will normalize only after the central banks reset the price of gold. Let's take a look at the balance sheet and what it would look like. This is with gold at $10,000 per ounce. $3.2 trillion of the balance sheet would be in gold against a, like I said, $25 trillion debt. The title of my next book is The Great Devaluation. I'm pleased to report that we've made a deal with the publisher. It will be in stores in spring in 2020. And if you are playing this like a game of chess, let's take a look at the different moves. Here are the next 10 moves. 3 of them already happened. Move number 1, we're at the end of the business cycle. Financial assets will struggle as valuations hit these peaks. Move number 2, the Federal Reserve is stuck. They can't raise rates without causing a financial collapse. Move number 3, central banks are then forced to lower rates. That's where we're at right now. Those 3 moves have transpired over the last year. Moves 4, 5, and 6 are coming in the next 12 to 24 months.
Adam, absolutely incredible. Everybody who's online right now, I hope you got the same impression that I got when I saw this last night. You are such an amazing storyteller. And what I just saw, and I think everybody here would agree, right, about amazing storyteller that he is. I would love for everybody to hear why you do have such a different approach and a different perspective, and how you're able to articulate this powerful message that you just covered.
Yeah, I was in the entertainment business for 25 years before I got into the gold business. And storytelling is really what I'm most passionate about, and financial information just makes people's eyes glaze over.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like I was, when I got into this industry, I had I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to look at. I didn't know what to read. And I didn't want to recommend something that I didn't completely understand or believe in. You know, Stan Lee was my former partner. And, you know, Stan and I had a project with a couple major sports leagues. And he was always telling me that people connect through story, that we get moved through stories. And, you know, financial information, because it's so, you know, black and white or drab, doesn't connect the feeling. And unfortunately, I think most people, because they move on feeling, wind up moving when things go bad, right, or when things are going great and their emotions are really high. And ultimately, that's not the best time to be making financial decisions. So the presentation that you all saw and that I've been working on for quite a long time,
Yeah.
is really I think the full story that I wish I could have seen 7 years ago when I started in this industry.
You've predicted some incredible things over the last 12 months. The launch of Gold is a Better Way, the book, became America's #1 financial book the week that it was launched. Over 10,000 copies were sold. You've got hundreds of 5-star reviews on Amazon. You've got thousands of people that have come on to Gold's a Better Way platform. All of this is because you set out to go and warn people about what was going to happen. And you were right. And you were right, which is the big part.
When you come to something that I didn't know anything about gold when I started, nothing. And I think that was a big benefit, because had I come through a Wall Street firm, I was going to do my JD MBA at Wharton and Penn. I have friends that are financial advisors and investment advisors and fund managers, lawyers. And had I come in through that system, I probably would have had a very similar perspective that you get trained into in those industries. And quite frankly, when I started in the industry, literally my first day of work was, here's a 1-page script, go sell gold. And I started listening to the people around me, hearing how gold was sold with this propaganda, the world is coming to an end perspective. And on my first day, I was like, this is a terrible reason to want to buy gold. And literally, the marketing is coming to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Fear-based, and I, quite frankly, wasn't sure that I could be in this industry. And then I started to do some research, and I started to really understand gold. And the first thing that hit me was Wall Street tells you, don't buy gold. It's an asset that just sits there. It doesn't pay a dividend. It's a non-productive asset is their term. I guess some of that is true. The reality is, though, that I looked at the numbers, and gold had outperformed the market by like 4 times. This is when the market was at 15,000 points or 13,000 points, and gold was at 1,800, okay? So I was like, well, wait a second. Why does Wall Street say that this is so bad for you, and the numbers are so heavily tilted towards gold? It didn't make any sense to me. And that was really the thing that kind of got me excited and passionate. And then as I learned more and learned more, I really started to piece together what I think is the story that you all heard last night, that I want to tell the world. The gold is among the most misunderstood assets on the planet. And my mission in life right now is to change that. I want the world to really understand what gold is, what it does, why it's so important, and why now more than ever is an important time that everyone in the world should be owning it.
You've had thousands of people come and join after they've either heard about your book, went to one of your webinars, and you have, like I said, you've really created a movement behind that. For everybody who's watching online and they don't know, Gold is a Better Way is a fantastic platform that Adam has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in, building in value and education and tools to go and see this for yourself. You can run calculations. You can see what the Warren Buffett indicator says about our markets being overvalued or undervalued. I know that there are, like I said, there's a lot of people who are statement stuffers.
Yeah.
They really don't have a clue. They're just taking their 401k statements, they put them in a drawer, and they never look at them again. And the ones that start to wake up go on a tear for information. They
Right.
want and crave that information.
Right.
And once they get that information, now it's time to act. Okay? This is where I think the rubber meets the road for most people watching online and everybody who's here. This is the Gold Investment Summit.
Yes.
This is here to celebrate the new book launch that you're doing. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
the book launch that you just announced as well, and then everything that you've just covered in your 10-step plan to take advantage of what's to come that you did yesterday. All of this is to help the person who's ready for the how, the one that's ready to take action. Adam, you've just laid out a tremendous amount of value, actionable things that we can all do. What do people do next? How can they take advantage of this, and how can they get more information?
Yeah, well, it's very easy. Just join the site. Look, I can't talk to everyone. I wish I could. I wish I could talk to everyone because I love educating people. That's why I put it all on the site. I laid this out in a way that anyone can understand. So ultimately, that's the best way to get it. Just join the site. It's really that simple.
Well, that's perfect segue into bringing out your partner, because he has something he wanted to say about that. Let's bring out Kirill Zagowski again, everybody.
Here.
I'm so excited about Adam's presentation that I want everybody that's joining us that has an IRA or a 401k to have access to this information absolutely free. So here's what we're going to do. To celebrate our 5-year business anniversary, to celebrate becoming the top-rated precious metals company in the industry, and to celebrate making the Inc. 5000 list, I'm going to pay for each and every person here and online to have access to goldisabetterway.com absolutely free. If you're here tonight and you have an IRA or a 401k, we want to talk to you. We believe that having the right team around you to help empower you to make the right decisions is critical in this investment landscape. And whether or not you ultimately decide that gold is the right fit for you, we want to hear from you, we want to get to know you better, and we want to give you the gift of free education absolutely free.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's an amazing opportunity, and this is for tonight, right? This is just for everybody who's here tonight?
Only tonight. So if you're here in person, we'd love to talk to you after the show. And of course, if you're with us online, follow the link on your screen. Again, this is only for tonight, and memberships are absolutely free, so you really have nothing to lose.
Yeah. That's extremely generous of you, Kirill and Adam, for willing to go and sponsor and buy everybody's membership with the IRA or 401k. If you guys are watching online, the link has been just posted. I highly recommend that you take advantage of this offer. This is worth $1,997. That's what an annual membership goes for. And so the fact that you would go and just open this up for everybody is a testament to how much you guys value education and how much you really do want to protect and grow people's retirement accounts. Let's talk about what it is that they're going to get access to. All right, so those of you online, you can go to Gold's Better Way website, and there's things there. But everybody here, I'd like to start to draw a picture of exactly the value that is covered here and what you're going to be getting with this membership. Okay, so Adam has been putting this website together for the last few years and has invested personally hundreds of thousands of dollars in the creation of the content as well as the tools and calculators that are in there, all for the purpose of helping you understand when the Fed announces a new number. What does that number mean? What's going to happen next? And very quickly, in a very short period of time, accessing this website, you will see the same picture that Adam's seen and why he wrote the book, Gold's Better Way, and why the website has really turned into a movement for so many members that have joined and taken advantage of that. Also, for everybody who is watching online, yesterday was incredible. Everybody here has gotten really excited about it. I'm really excited about it. And he had laid out a 10-step basically a 10-step strategy, a chess strategy, for how to take advantage of what is going to be happening in the next 12 months and why now, right now, is the time to get your head started. So we covered a little bit of that today. How many of you would want to go and see that entire presentation, right? Again, how many of you? Absolutely. That entire presentation is going to be available for everybody who's watching online after you go and you sign up for Gold is a Better Way and you join that website. And you're going to be able to watch it in its entirety, and it's only going to be available to members. This is not going to be information that we are sharing with the entire public. Why? How do you go about owning physical gold or silver? Which gold coins, gold bars, silver bars, platinum, palladium? How? There's so many more questions I'm sure all of you who are watching online and here today are probably thinking about. And so I invite all of you to come and join Gold is a Better Way. And through your generous offer to pay for anybody who has an IRA or a 401k tonight, you can join at no cost. But you guys also mentioned to me, which was really, really nice of you backstage, is that you're going to even sweeten the deal. So there's several people out there who have an IRA or 401k and they want to do and take advantage of this. There's the link. You guys can take advantage of it right now. Fill out the one-page form. Their team will contact you. Again, everything's personal and confidential, and then we'll unlock Gold's a Better Way for you. All right? Okay, what about everybody else? So there are still people that, you know what, I don't want to touch my IRA or 401k. I don't want to do this. I'm not quite sure. This information sounds really good, Jeremy. Sounds really good, Adam. Kirill, you guys are so nice. But, you know, I think I need to go and get more information. So we mentioned to you that the membership, an annual membership, is $1,997, $1,997. What they have told me that they're willing to do is that if you don't want to go and fill out this one-page investor profile, or you don't have an IRA or 401k, but you want more information today, you want access immediately, then there's a link that the team will drop right now, if you guys can drop that. They're going to give you 50% off tonight the annual membership.
Yeah.
So you can get it for $997. And those of you watching online, you got to just listen for the last 45 minutes what Adam just discussed, all right? How many of you, show of hands, were in the dark before you were introduced to Gold is a Better Way? All right? Now, let me hear the round of applause if you feel like now you're in the light and you know more than you did before. #1 rated company in America, most trusted. This is all because this is exactly what these guys do day in and day out. They take people who are in the dark and they turn on the light for them. Now, whether they choose to do something when they're in the light and make changes to their portfolio and to their retirement future is on a case-by-case basis. But if they do, they've got the best team in the business to do it. So I invite all of you who are watching online and here now to visit goldsabetterway.com. Sign up and become a member, join the movement, and your life will be better for it. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
I really
thank you.
appreciate it.